Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for signing up. Now, I hope you guys read the welcome students sheet that I put. Now, my vision was a little bit different on just in regards to being able to teach you guys what I wanted to teach you guys for free. I believe that it's free knowledge. What I'm going to be giving you is some of the basics just in regards to what a spiritual journey is. Now, um, I actually had to, I'm going to shut my phone off. I actually had to, uh, the, but basically I had to um, pay for a full course for you guys. I I completed the entire course. Everything was all set, ready to go. I pushed publish, and then it says you need to purchase 1 year's subscription. So for all of you guys that sent me an email when I initially sent this on our Facebook page, um, this is for you. And I didn't realize how expensive it would be, but that's okay. What I did was I I paid for it. So again, I really believe in a lot of the things that Anishnawbe Giikenimowgaywin talk about. I really believe in a lot of the things that we do. We help people of all different walks of life. We help people of different ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, social status, and doesn't matter how much money you have, how much money you don't have, like everybody's welcome. So without further ado, I'd just like to say that I hope you did read um, everything that I wrote down, what's going to be in this course. It's going to be a mini course. There is going to be an advanced course, but the advanced is going to have to cost money, unfortunately, just due to the fact that I didn't realize I was going to spend this much money on this on this platform here. But that's fine. It's okay. I said I was going to do this for you guys, and that's exactly what I want to do. So let's get started. So one of the things that I talked about in the first beginning of things is spiritual journey. What is it? Now, when we think about a physical journey, basically for those of you that are watching at home, it's you getting out of your house, walking to your vehicle or bike or bus, and then just going. That's basically a physical journey. Sometimes when we feel like we're in an emotional journey, let's say we just broke up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or somebody that we care about, somebody that we love, said something that allowed us to kind of feel a little hurt by it or angry or upset in some way, where you kind of go on this emotional roller coaster. You're still physically present, you're still physically there, but that emotional roller coaster is still just kind of like it just takes you somewhere, right? That's an emotional journey. Now, and for some of you, this is probably like, oh my God, like, this is really basic stuff. Yes, it is. So we're going to start basic and then we're going to start going. So physical journey, walking out that door, going for a jog, going for a bike ride, bus ride, whatever, car ride, going to go get groceries. Emotional journey, somebody says something that you don't really agree with or something that doesn't really make you feel all that great, and you kind of go like this or whatever. Maybe it's a parent, that you really want gratitude from your parents for having you, or you want them to be proud of something that you've accomplished, and for some reason they didn't really see it the same way that you saw it. That brings you to an emotional journey. Now, when we look at, let's say, for instance, mental, now we have four different bodies. One, obviously, physical body, right? That's basically everything that moves, your phalanges, and you have, your mandible, and you have, your C to C1 all the way to 7 to T with the thorax and all those medical terms, you know what I mean? Basically, rib cages, thorax. The physiological things of how everything works and comes together in our physical body. So that allows us to walk or slide or crawl or anything like that, run. So when we look at a mental journey, That's basically, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit of basically what depression is. Now, for a lot of people at home, whether if you took this course to basically, because I'm depressed, I want you to bring it back down to basically basics. To the basically basics. I want you to bring it to basics because of the fact that we can go into all this psychological mumbo jumbo about, all this jargon, and kind of theorize what's happening to you and say, is it cognitive behavioral therapy that you need? Is it, and all that. At the end of the day, when we know what depression is, all it is that your thoughts are swirling to the past. That is it. There's no other explanation on what depression is. That's all it is that it continues to swirl all the way to the past. Whether if you at home, you had childhood trauma, if you've ever been physically, emotionally, sexually abused, hurt in any way, if you were left, if you have abandonment issues, if, whatever your story is. And you're more than welcome to email me, to give me a text, a call. All the info's on our website. And if you say, you know what, Daniel, like this happened to me, it's okay. I know sometimes people feel like I don't want to say, because if I say it, it's going to make me cry. Well, what's wrong with that? So at the end of the day, all it is your thoughts are spiraling down to the past. That's it. Whether if you, let's say, were sexually assaulted at a party in your teens, and you're older and a certain smell reminds you, let's say the person, you remember the cologne of the person that took advantage of you, all that's going to do is trigger you and allow you to think back to that night. And you're going to relive that time and time again. Another mental journey that people go through is that they literally defeat themselves. They think of all these things that haven't even happened yet. That's anxiety. So when people say, oh, I'm depressed, it's because they go backwards. If they're anxious or they're having a panic attack, it's because they're going frontwards. It's like, okay, you know what, Daniel, you are going to be doing a mini series on spiritual journey. For me, I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do that. For some people, if they were ever to be told something like that, it'd be like, okay, oh my God, I need to do so much research. How many books am I supposed to read? Who am I supposed to quote? Am I going to do this video? Am I going to do this just document? Am I going to create an ebook? Wait, how much does an ebook cost? Oh my God, I only have $700 in my account. Oh, plus I also got to get milk. And my insurance is going to be coming out here on the 28th. So that means that I have to pay my insurance. And then before I could pay my insurance, I need to pay for this. Oh my God, and my cars kind of have a knocking and then you start to spiral all through all these things that haven't even happened yet. So Indigenous people, and a lot of people from Western society actually say that it was them that thought of it. It was actually the Indigenous nation people. It was the Anishnawbe that said, stay here. Be right here. Giikenimowgaywin is how we say it, that you're still here. When you spiral into the future of things that hasn't happened yet, it's going to make you sick. Anxiety. When you spiral over to the past and you go behind what's already happened, you can't change it. Giikenimowgaywin, stay here. When you stay here in the here and now, right present. I'm not talking about here physically, kind of like walking out, doing the physical journey. Even though the emotions and the mental kind of go hand in hand together, that when you start to think about all these things that are happening inside your head, and you're playing out this whole horrible thing that's going to be happening, and then all of a sudden you start getting, and then you start to freak out for nothing. You start to be able to defeat yourself. You just got accepted into a university. Oh my God, there's so many smart people there. How am I going to do this? How am I going to take care of myself? I need to work. But if I work, when am I going to study? If I'm going to study, how am I going to afford? If I can't work, how am I going to afford school? If I go to school, how am I going to... I'm going to be in this endless... And then you start to create this thing in your life, and then it starts to manifest into your life, because that's where your mind is at, that mental journey. That's exactly what a mental journey is. So physical journey, you and me, if you were at home and I flew over to you and I walked with you, and let's say, oh, let's go grab a coffee, that's a physical journey. If I was to sit there and listen to your childhood trauma and kind of bring you back, that's an emotional journey. Crying, anger, emotional journey. If, let's say, you think something happened, but you don't really remember, then that's when we bring you onto a mental journey, to allow for you to be able to find out exactly why you exhibit some of those behaviors of counseling. Counseling is very easy for Indigenous people, because we literally know that you have all the answers inside yourself, that we know that you are the one that has that connection with yourself. The only thing we do is listen to you and help you explore it. So what is a spiritual journey? Spiritual journey is something that cannot be explained in English. A spiritual journey is not something that we can really give a definition for. One of the things that I would like to actually do is, and I really hope that you're watching this video after you read the Welcome Students document that I made. But there's so many different things that people feel that is a part of that spiritual journey that they talk about. Some people, when they meet somebody new, when they fall in love, they say, oh my God, I met this most beautiful person. You know, whether male or female. Met this most beautiful person. My heart, oh my God, I'm so in love. You know, my thoughts, it's all about that person. You know, like physically, I just feel all the butterflies, and I love this person so much. This is the one. This is the person that I'm supposed to be with. It's that spiritual connection. Physiologically, love, sickness. And actually, love is a sickness. It's like catching a cold. You know, with some of those rappers, when they say catch feelings, I'm never going to catch a feeling, we're catching feelings when we feel that way. And that's a spiritual connection, because for those, maybe this will make better sense for you. For those of you that are at home, has there ever been a time in your life that you met somebody that you just didn't mesh well with, that you felt afraid of, that you were in harm's way being around this person? If you have, write that down. I want you to write down that experience. Just put on your notepad or notes or whatever you're using, just put one, circle it, and say, you know, remember to write down a time that I was afraid. But let's go to the opposite side of that spectrum. For those of you that are married or that have a boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever the case may be, if you've ever felt like you've fallen in love. Because I also want you to, number 2, write that down as well too. I want you to write down your journey on what happened, how you felt, what was the connection, the reason why. Some people weren't able to explain it. It's like, there's nothing I could really say. He's just the one. You know, yo, bro, like I can't tell you. She's just the one. This is the exact same way of me trying to explain what a spiritual journey is to you. Does that make sense? When we look at a spiritual journey, right? A lot of us are so conditioned and trained to think in a physical sense. We're so trained to think in an emotional way or feel in an emotional way. And our mentality is more of just the physical nature. When we dream, actually, I'm not going to get into the dreams yet, because dreams is when our spirit is starting to travel. Dreams is basically when our ancestors, other spirits around us, are trying to communicate with us. Whether if it's scary, whether if it's a good dream, whether if it's, you know, something that gives you insight or something that makes you scratch your head like this. Dreams is something that and I'm going to get more into it later on in this series, but dreams is very, very important. Now, when we look at a spiritual journey, sometimes we think also in the Hollywood kind of version of what our spirit is. A lot of people are like, ooh, it's a ghost. Ooh, it's our soul. There's a huge difference between what our soul is and what our spirit is. Probably you haven't heard that before. You probably thought, oh, I thought a soul was a spirit and a spirit was a soul. No. The word soul actually defines the inner part of us, that small little spark, that small little piece of what people identify as God or creator or the universe or, you know, anything like that. So that is what a soul is. Our spirit is a choice. That's the one good thing. And you can look up in the Bible. If you're a Christian at home and you're watching this, great. Thanks for listening to somebody who's young. I might have learned for 18 years off one of the last elders, but that doesn't mean I know more than you. In fact, with any of the things that I'm going to be teaching you, don't listen to me. Go find out for yourself. So when we look at that word soul, it's a lot different than what spirit is. Because our soul, and a lot of people don't really realize this, is that I know some Western society people believe that our soul belongs within our consciousness, within our brain. And then there's a bunch of other people that believe, no, it has nothing to do with our brain. That's where we get in trouble, hence the going back and forth. It's in our heart. It's in our feelings. It's what we feel. And then a lot of people are like, no, it's actually our soul is trapped inside our body until it's a shell. That our body is a shell, and then we grow up and then we pass away and then our soul is released. A lot of things come from the Bible. If you read the Bible, great, right on. There's a lot of good teachings in there. But at the end of the day, the differences, especially in the indigenous perspective, is that our soul is actually a lot different. So I'm going to explain where our spirit is. And I'm going to move this, and I'm going to show you exactly where our spirit is. So on our body, This is where our spirit is. Now, a lot of people are like, how was that? How is it within your roles there, Mr. Sakachiko? I used to be good looking. Now I'm a little chunky, but it's all right. Well, when you think about it, when we have our mind, it's up here. When we have our heart, it's our feelings. Our entire physical being is around us. When you get sick, what is the first thing that hurts on your body? Most people say their stomach. Where was the connection? And it doesn't matter if you're male, female, whoever, right? Where was the connection that you had with your mother? Through your umbilical cord, through your stomach. Now, where was that portal that made you into this big and then slowly allowed for you to grow 40 weeks before you were born? Your mom's stomach. So when we think basically and going back to the basics of stuff, our stomach is where our spirit sits. Our stomach is where our center is. Our stomach is the connection that we had to open up that gateway or that portal with Mother Earth. I hope that makes sense. So where is your spirit? That's your stomach. What is your spirit? Now, when we look at a whole bunch of different, let's think scientifically for a second. I remember there was and indigenous people actually know about science. We actually know about math. We knew a lot of things. It's just when the first visitors came, they didn't want to listen to what we had to say. Anyway, I actually had a phone call, and it was one of my buddies. And he says, how's it going, bro? And I said, hey, not too bad. How are you? He says, yeah, I just finished, and he's a youth pastor. And he says, yeah, I just finished doing some stuff with some youth, and I met this woman, and she's like Native, and came to a tree, and she put the tobacco in her hand and put it against the tree and started to pray. I was like, oh, okay. So he goes, no, that's not okay. I said, oh, why? Why? What's happening? He says, well, you know that the tree doesn't have a soul. Why would you pray to a tree? I don't understand why you guys do that. He's not racist, by the way, but that's his language. I don't understand why you guys do that. I said, do what, Ben? Pray to trees. In my faith, that's considered sacrilegious. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, yeah, that is pretty sacrilegious. I said, but who said we're praying to trees? He says, well, I saw her. She started to pray. And I said, okay. I think she might have been saying thank you. She might have been saying thank you to the tree. And he says, well, what do you mean? And I said, I do that often. I say thank you to a tree. I thank the tree. Yeah, but that's sacrilegious. It doesn't have a soul. I said, you're right. It doesn't have a soul. But it has a spirit. I said, I thank the spirit of that tree because when we were kids, Ben, what did we used to climb? Trees. I said, that's right. When we're cold in the winter, what did we used to burn? Trees. I said, that's right. When we were hot in the summer, what did we used to sit under? Trees. That's right. What are you breathing right now, Ben? He says, air. Where does that come from? Trees. I said, that's right. What are you sitting in right now? And he says, my chair. No, where? My house. What's that made out of? He says, trees. I said, that's right. When you're hungry and you want a snack, you get an apple or an orange. Where does that come from? Trees. I said, okay. And if you wanted to eat, let's say, an animal that is a herbivore, what do they usually eat? Plants and, he says, trees. I said, when you were younger and you wanted to work in construction, a lot of your tools was made out of what? Trees. I said, when you got yourself educated, all those books, what are they made out of? Trees. I'm going to thank the spirit of something that is alive, that gives me food, shelter, air, recreation, warmth in the winter, shade in the summer, tools and books to read, and all of those good things. That's what the Spirit is, to honor something that people take for granted so much. I bet you, listening at home, when you were driving earlier today, you did not even look at a tree. You probably passed many of them, but I bet you any money that you didn't think, wow, look at that tree. It gives me so much and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Mr. Tree, Mrs. Tree, all those other different things. So that's what our spirit is. Now we know where our spirit is. Who is your spirit? And that's also a big one as well too. Who? No, I'm not an owl. Who is your spirit? If we were to take your spirit, you listening at home, and put that spirit into this shell and mine into yours, we would still be us. Meaning you would still be you, I would still be me. But as time went on, for some reason our mannerisms would start to change. We would slowly start to become the other person. Let's say magically, snap of the fingers, you're here, I'm there. Over time, you're still going to remember all of your memories. You're still going to feel all of your feelings. You're still going to be able to have all of your mannerisms, all of your behaviors, all of your habits, everything. But over time, you're going to start to realize things that I know. And I'm going to start realizing things that you know. I'm going to see the world through your eyes, and you're going to see it through mine. That's how powerful our spirit is. I remember there was a woman one time. She says, can you give me a teaching? I said, sure. She gives me tobacco. She goes, oh, man, I just need help. I said, okay. I said, may I ask you something? How old are you? She goes, oh, I'm very old. I'm going to be 60 soon. I said, okay. Has anybody ever told you, trust your instincts, you'll find an answer? She goes, all the time. I said, that's not true. I said, has anyone ever asked you how or follow your heart, you'll find an answer? She goes, I hear that all the time. I said, that's not true. She looked at me very puzzled. I said, have you ever heard of somebody saying, think about it, you'll find an answer? She goes, yeah, that's not true. I said, has anyone in your life ever asked you how old your spirit is? She goes, no, no one's ever asked me how old my spirit is. And I said, ancient. You being almost 60, your physical body only has 60 years experience being able to understand what it's going through. Your heart is only 60 years old. It only has 60 years experience being able to understand its feelings. Your mind is only 60 years old. It only has 60 years old to understand its thoughts. When you have an ancient spirit, you have the knowledge, the ancient knowledge of this world and this universe. I want you guys at home to think about that. Because in this course, and this is just the first video, in this course, there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to challenge you with on being able to think in a different way. That's the end of video 1. I hope you're here for video 2.